And now, the Red Hot Read Show with your host, Red Taylor.
Hey everybody, this is the Red Hot Read Show with Red Taylor, and I've got 2 words for you today, and that's buckle up. My guest today is a serial entrepreneur, a 9+ figure multi-millionaire, podcast producer, and extreme sports enthusiast. He's comes from a true rags to riches story. When you hear this guy's story, it is not only going to inspire you to overcome whatever obstacles that have come your way, but it's going to inspire you to go and achieve more and to chase the greatness that's in you. And so really appreciate you guys being here and looking forward to a great show today. My friend and my guest today is Phil Beniamino.
Hey man, Red, what's up, buddy? Thanks for having me. That was a hell of an introduction, man.
I appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. I like to get those introductions a little bit more in depth about that, but I think your story's going to do the deal today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. It's great being here.
Yeah, I absolutely appreciate you showing up and look forward to being on your podcast as well. Before we get started, Phil, tell everybody where can they find all of your socials? Where can they find your information?
Oh, well, that's simple. Wam Bam's podcast is actually our podcast. It's on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, you can subscribe. Wam Bam's podcast. It's a show about ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. So that's what it's all about. You can find my social media, all that. I also have the Life of Wam Bam, it's my own personal stuff. And, you know, we put out stuff from there. So I got a great crew, great production. And, you know, basically we're just trying to spread the love, man. We're trying to showcase just ordinary people, you know, everyday life doing extraordinary things that the people don't see.
Love it. Absolutely. Let's start with where you are now. So you're the founder and CEO of a mega credit card processing company called Cost Plus. Grew up in small town New York, upstate New York, Geneva. Tell me how that led you to being the CEO of such a impressive organization.
You know, it was all an accident. That's how it all happens,
I love it.
Right? You know, it all becomes, you know, you go to college and you got these big plans that you're going to, you know, be a school psychologist and you're going to do all these things, and you don't use your degree at all for any of that.
Right.
Stuff.
Right.
But no, I actually got into the credit card industry by a fluke. I actually met a gentleman back in the day who was in the industry. I was actually selling mortgages at the time. Yeah. Doing mortgages and stuff. And he said, hey man, you should come take a look at my industry and, you know, take a look. You got residual money. You can make money while you sleep. And who the heck doesn't want to do that?
Right.
And, you know, he introduced me to the business. So I got introduced with him. From that point, grew his company to over 55,000 clients.
Nice.
You know, nationwide. And, you know, but I had other goals in my head. You know, I was seeing a lot in the industry where people would actually, you know, sell merchants and then, of course, change the fees and change the rates. You know, 3 months after the honeymoon was over, 6 months down the road when you weren't looking at your statements and stuff, and they start raising prices and raising cost. And I couldn't understand the attrition line, that when you had a customer, why they would leave, right? You earned a customer, why would they go somewhere else? And you found out, well, they would go somewhere else because, one, they found a better deal.
Money.
Okay, right? Money was always a big factor.
If it ain't about the money, it's about the money.
Right. It's always about the money, no matter what.
Yeah.
Money, relationships, right? That's it, you know, type of thing. But, or education. They just didn't understand.
Sure.
A lot of people didn't know what they were paying. They just assumed they were paying one thing because that's what somebody told them. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, in the industry back then, the average customer would stay around 14 to 16 months. That was the life of a customer. And then they would switch. They would switch to another company because, once again, some better looking girl or guy would walk in, offering them a better program, and then boom, they would go ahead and make that switch. Well, I always had this thought in my head that, you know what if you knew exactly what cost was? If you knew exactly what the cost was, hence, you would never have to worry about trying to find a better deal. Right? Because you would already know that. Yeah. You're not looking over your shoulder saying, hey, is there a better program out there for me? So my thought was always, hey, business owners who we're dealing with understand that you got to make a little bit of profit in business, or else you wouldn't be open.
Everybody gets that.
Everybody's got to have a little bit of profit. So if you could actually tell them, hey, this is what cost is, this is the plus, which is the part of profit that we're going to make above cost, right? Then why would you lose them? give them a rate guarantee for life, and always have them. So I had this motto in my head, which I presented it to back then to a gentleman that was supposedly my partner. We had a falling out, as most sometimes companies go through, which was a learning lesson for me.
Sure.
A lot of people say, you pissed off. This guy, took millions away from me. And I'm not. I'm actually very grateful. I'm very thankful to God, thankful to him to introduce me to an industry that allowed me the ability to open up what I really wanted to do anyways, which was cost plus processing. I was actually one of the first companies actually open the books and show merchants what Visa, MasterCard charges for interchange and cost. And the plus part was a little bit of profit margin. And to me, if I made $10, $20 a month off of the account, it doesn't seem like a lot of money. But if I had 1 million accounts, it's pretty lucrative.
It's a lot of money.
That was always the goal.
Yeah.
So.
And to your point, and to your credit for having that vision, as an entrepreneur myself, somebody who's self-employed, I'm okay with you making money. I mean, we all have to make money. We've got bills, we've got payrolls, we got a house, we got children, college, all of that. So everybody has to be able to make a profit. That's the American way. That's capitalism. Right. And what I've experienced over the years, especially being in insurance, health insurance, life insurance, people don't appreciate rate increases. People don't, they feel like they're being spurned. They feel like it's a bait and switch type deal, and they don't understand. And personally, I can agree with it and relate to their perspective on it. Why do you raise my rate on me? Okay.
So you know what? I can answer that. Yeah. And that's all about education.
Sure.
And that's the difference, because, I used to tell merchants all the time, when they got rate increases, that's a good thing. And I'm going to tell you why it's a good thing. Because that means Visa, MasterCard are raising the rates. Why are they raising the rates? Because they're giving more credit lines to people out there that can spend money in your stores. So without those credit lines, think about it. Most businesses today, 80 to 90% of their business transactions are credit card transactions.
Right.
Okay. Could you live and survive without 80% of your business? Of course not.
Nobody can.
Back in the day, it was 40 or 50%. Yeah. But because Visa, MasterCard, because of banks opening up credit lines to consumers like ourselves, giving us lines of credit, people are now able to go out there and spend more money in the stores and the locations.
Right.
So be thankful that the rates are going up, because that means there's more credit lines out there available for people to come spend with you.
Yeah.
It's just about knowing that and understanding that. When you explain that to them, they're like, wow, I never thought about that.
Makes sense.
Never explained that to me.
It generates economy. It generates the flow of my business. It generates the flow of the capital that runs through my business, enables me to live my life and pay my people and all that. So, so when you say back in the day, are we talking back? You've been doing this about 25 years.
I've been over 30 years.
30 years, man.
Yeah. So it's
been guys, you want to understand how to be successful in life. You want to be something. Hey, so you didn't go to the ATM and just punch it in and get a bunch of money. No microwave oven, no drive-through window.
It didn't work like that. No. In fact, we had the rabbit ears on the TV. We didn't even have remote controls. You had to go up there and spin the dial. I was my dad's remote control. He hit me.
Same.
Go change the channel.
Yeah, you had 3 channels, right?
That's it.
And if you could get the rabbit ears,
2 were fuzzy.
Yeah, 2 were fuzzy. You had to get the rabbit ears. Maybe you get that second one in right.
That's right.
That's back in that is back in the day.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah.
So let's go there for a bit. So you grew up in small town Tennessee, New York, Geneva. Very poor growing up. I mean, at some points you guys didn't have running water. I mean, you were going before school to have to pick fruit, vegetables, things of that nature. That some people, they hear those stories of like, that didn't happen. Hey guys, it happened. This guy's a living testimony of that. So when I say rags to riches, he grew up with absolutely nothing to a life today of absolute financial abundance. But I want you to tell folks, how was it growing up in an authentic, old school Italian home with those types of traditions and heritage, and growing up poor in upstate New York? How was that?
You know what, Red? Let me clarify some things first of all. The word poor. Okay, I don't consider myself ever growing up poor. Yeah. Okay, we just didn't have some of the things that other people had. Okay, and water was one of those things. Okay, and for example, we had to dig a well. In order to get water. You didn't have the city water coming through. We had a piece of land where, we had a 1 bathroom. We all shared a bathroom, a smaller house, but we didn't have water in there. So you had to dig a well to try to find water. And my father and mother would work their butt off. And that's the one thing. And this is why I say I'm not really poor, because I learned and I gained so much wealth from my parents because they taught me how to work, and what needed to be done and what sacrifice was about, which these kids today don't understand.
No.
Okay. But growing up, my dad would have to save $10,000, $11,000 to dig a well. And there was no guarantee when they dug the well.
That's crazy.
There would be water.
Right.
So it was like, you know, me and my sister would be, it was like Christmas when that day would happen. It was like, okay, here comes the big trucks. Here comes the hoe. You know, the diggers are coming in, they're digging. And we're sitting there over the whole way. And all of a sudden, there's no water. And it's like, shoot. And I look at the face of my dad. I look at the face of my mom. And you just know as a kid, something ain't right. Something ain't right. You know, there's no happiness, there's no excitement.
Disappointment.
And a disappointment because now they lost their money. You know, it wasn't guaranteed. So now they had to start all over again. You know, we dug 3 wells. 3 wells. I remember this growing up as a kid. 3 times that we went through this process. And my dad may have done it even more before I was even born.
Yeah.
But 3 times I remember going through this process where finally we hit water.
What was that
and
like?
Oh my God, it was just like joy. Like you just saw the smiles, you saw the high fives, you saw it. And then all of a sudden, it was the stinky water.
Oh, no.
It was the sulfur water. It was the bad water, the hard water. So then you had to get salt and you had to put, you know, equipment on it to get the water right. And it was, although we had water, we could now flush the toilet. We could do dishes, we can clean, where as a kid, I used to have to go next door and get buckets of water so we could brush our teeth and do the dishes.
Wow.
We didn't have dishwashers back then.
Yep.
You know, mom was doing the dishes in the sink and stuff. But, you know, you learn these things. So, you know, when I say poor growing up, yeah, we had some struggles, but it wasn't because, you know, I was poor. It was because God puts things in people's places for a reason, right? And I think that's what really kind of stuck with me and drove me to be who I am today. So I think there's value to growing up and doing it that way.
Yeah.
Waking up at 3, 4 in the morning before school.
Yeah.
Mom taking me to work to pick corn before I went to school. You know, people ask me all the time, you know, what was that like being a kid, you know, going and picking corn before school? And to me, it was like a field trip. I didn't know any different.
It was normal.
It was normal.
It was your life.
It was my life.
Yeah.
It was normal. So it's like, doesn't everybody do this?
You didn't realize it wasn't everybody didn't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, it was a part, but it taught me so many lessons.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the things benefits that I got out that made me rich is the understanding of working.
Right.
You know, my parents taught me 2 things. They taught me how to work and how to give. And, you know, and I watched both of them do that their whole lives.
Yeah.
Until my father passed away, unfortunately, years ago. And my mom's still doing it today.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, those are 2 things that people don't really understand. You know, as a kid, we were outside growing up. You know, you're constantly, if you're not working, you're playing out. Like you're outside.
Yeah. There wasn't no sitting in the house watching TV, no video games. No way.
These
No
kids
way.
are playing games. They're attracted to their phones.
Yeah.
You go have dinner with somebody, you can't even have a conversation anymore.
Right. Sad.
You know,
It's
because
ridiculous.
they're looking at the phone. And I found myself doing that too. At a little
Oh,
bit
brother,
later
I'm
point.
bad. I'm telling you.
Now it's like I got to put the phone aside and just leave it away when I go sit down and have dinner with my kids or my family and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, something that you have to do because you don't get those life lessons that you got growing up. You know, my mom actually made a comment. She was on my podcast. Actually, it was really cute one time. And she brought something up and I never thought about that. It totally struck me. And she's like, you know, we always knew what was going on in your life because when somebody wanted to get a hold of me, they had to call home. And they answered the phone.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't have a phone.
Sitting on the wall.
Yeah.
With a rotary dial.
That's it, right.
With an extension cord that can wrap around to the living room, right?
Exactly. And the phone would ring and they would pick it up.
Yes.
Who do you want? I want Phil. Well, who's this? Who's calling? What do you want to talk to him about? What's this for?
Yep.
And, you know, you don't realize today, I don't know who's calling my son.
No.
He's got an iPhone sitting in his room. I don't know who he's talking to.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Do you?
No.
With your kids? I mean,
No.
you got 6 kids. Is there? I mean, think about it. Do you know what's happening?
It's absolutely, you know, ridiculous what we've done with these children, and I hold guilt about it. I carry guilt because, you know, we give them these phones at such a young age, whether it's 11, 12, 13 years old, and even before that, they have an iPad in front of them to babysit them, to keep them occupied. occupied while mom or dad are doing whatever they're doing. And so I'm so guilty of it. So many parents are guilty of using these devices to occupy and babysit our children. And so they grow up dependent on Apple. It is stated in Apple's corporate documents, their corporate mission statement, that they want mind control. Mind control is their goal. And so you think about you, I, our children, everybody that we know, and how glued to these phones we are. What a great business model they got.
Yeah.
You know,
it's great for their business.
It's great for their business. And, I think that there are some positives to it. The positives are that it's enabled and developed an entire culture of where folks like you and I are inspired to go and get our story out there to people, because that we know that they have a chance to look at it on their phones. And if they're going through some struggles in life, maybe they can hear what you've gone through in life and to where you've come from and how you've overcame those adversities, overcame those obstacles to achieve greatness and success. And they can use their phone or that modem of communication to better their lives. So not all bad, but man, I get it, dude. It ain't like when we were kids.
Red, you made a couple of really good valid points. Number one thing that actually upsets me about the world and what we do is use the word occupied. A lot of parents use iPads and stuff to occupy their kids.
Yep.
Guess what? How about you just, parent your kids? How about you just find ways to interact with them instead of having to give them an iPad?
Yep.
Send them in a corner.
Yep.
To look at a phone and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've coached my whole life, and it's sad because I watch many parents bring their kids, drop their kids off to practice because they wanted just that, a babysitter. A babysitter. They want, hey, let me little Johnny, little Susie is taken care of for next. Like, you're not even going to watch your kid practice and see how they develop and be a part of them growing up.
So that you can.
Then why did you have children?
So that you can have that experience with them and communicate with them and
Yes.
talk to them about it. And parents, you're hearing us right now, and I know that this is resonating with some of you. And I hope that you take this from our heart, and that we're not talking to you and pointing a finger at you. That we are coming from two guys that probably have done some of this in our own life.
Absolutely.
And because we've screwed it up like that, that we're not allowing that failure, because it is a failure of some sorts, to define us and to say who we are. It was an event that happened. And so if you can take the advice and what we're talking to you from our experience and say, dadgummit, these guys are being authentic. They're opening up to me. Maybe that's something that I can go in and do some internal, review and internal checkpoint and change the action. Right. And if you change the action, you'll have a better goal and reaction on the back end of it with your children. Because let's face it, besides your spouse, that relationship with your children is going to be the most long-lasting, meaningful, impactful relationship that you have in life.
100%, hands down. And it's sad for those that don't get that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
I experienced that, obviously, raising my daughter on my own. Being a single dad.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Especially be a guy from New York, come down to Georgia and have full custody of a child from a woman in Georgia. It's hard to do.
You blew me away with that. I want you to talk about that. Go deep in that, okay? Because guys, I want you to know something. This is a guy, and everybody can see, Phil's a man's man, okay? He walks in the door, and he's bringing something with him, all right? Like I told you, buckle up. And I've automatically have a kindred spirit to him, and I know we're going to be friends for a very long time. Red Hot Read Nation, this is Red Taylor. I wanted to ask a big favor. If you go in and rate and review this podcast wherever you listen, that would mean the world to me. And also, if you would share it with someone, it may mean the world to them as well. But this guy had an event happen in his life. He ended up, with a lady from Georgia. They weren't exactly married. Next thing you know, bam, they've got a daughter.
Darn Hooters, man. Hooters. Hooters girl got me.
Hooters girls. You might be able to relate to this.
Yeah, there's a few people that might be able to relate to this. I was young. I was in my early 20s, down here on vacation, and walked into Hooters and thought I fell in love. You know what I mean? Type of thing. But long story short, I ended up having a child and out of wedlock, and being a guy from New York coming down south and trying to get any rights whatsoever was nearly impossible. Yeah. Because let me tell you what, it's so weird because a lot of people they talk about racism, right? They talk about how there's so much racism, and I said, I've experienced that. Yeah. Being that. I was from up there, which they considered the North, right? Yeah. That's when the South and the North was not, it was like a competition. Sure. Go back home to where you belong. Right. I heard that, when I was fighting for my daughter and visited almost every jail in this state, in the process of doing that. Because during the time, Red, when I was fighting for my daughter, it was during the O.J. Simpson time.
Wow.
Who,
okay.
Actually just passed away.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to him. But during the O.J. Simpson time, and that was a time where if a female went to a judge and said anything,
You're done.
They had to lock you up right away. There was no questions asked.
Yeah.
You got locked up for a couple days before you got to talk to a judge. You didn't get a bond. You didn't get, you sat there. And that happened was like almost every single week I get knocked out.
Man.
Mr. Beniamino, I got a warrant for your arrest. For what? Attempted murder. What do you mean attempted murder? Yep. Got it.
Oh my God.
I didn't tell it to the judge. Lock you up. Go into jail and stuff. It was a constant battle of those types of things.
Wow.
And in the state of Georgia too, when you're fighting for your child, which I was doing because, at first I had to legitimize and prove that she was mine. So I had to do all the testing and make sure that it was my child, which of course, it was.
Yeah.
And then after that, then you fight for visitation and then joint custody and full custody. You had to go in order to those types of things. So as I was going through the process, I'll never forget, I believe I had joint custody at the time.
Yeah.
And I get another, Mr. Beniamino, I got a warrant for your arrest. For what? Kidnapping.
No way.
Kidnapping. This is my weekend. I got my paperwork. Look, tell it to the judge. Back to jail. You know what I'm saying? It just got to the point where it was just beating me up silly.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, I surrender. Like, you just want to surrender. But then again, you look at those little brown eyes, that little girl of yours, and you're like, wait a second, I can't surrender. God put me in this position for a reason.
Yes.
And she's mine.
Yes.
And you know what? She didn't get to choose her dad.
Yeah.
She didn't wake up at the hospital and say, I want this guy. She woke up at the hospital and said, here's your dad.
Right.
And I said to myself then that, you know what? I got to be the best dad I can possibly be.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because that was really the only goal I had in that point in time was, hey, I wanted to give her, everything. And it's unfortunate because as a kid growing up, you want to give your kids everything you had and more. And it was unfortunate because I did have a mom and dad growing up.
Yeah.
But now I was in a situation I felt like I'd already failed because I couldn't give her a mom and a dad that was there for her.
Right.
As much as I tried.
Right.
So it was hard.
So the absolute struggle, the feeling of devastation, like you said, you wanted to just surrender. I'm sure you felt like you were just a terrible person at the time. I can only imagine the self-talk that one, that you go through and
God,
the bad things that you tell yourself.
You're,
why me? What did I do to deserve all this? This wasn't my plan. So, one of the things that I want to know, what was your why? What made you keep fighting that fight for her? What was it inside? What's her name?
Kylie.
What made you fight for Kylie? What was it about her mother, or what was it about you and your desire for her? What was the whole thing, Phil? What was it?
You know what? It came down to what I said earlier is that she didn't get to choose me.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what? I wasn't going to let her down.
Yeah.
And although I could fail other things in life, I can't control those things. The one thing I could control is how hard I fight, how much I give to her. I didn't have all the money. I didn't have the money to go through it. Heck, I remember selling everything, okay, just to pay my attorney, okay, because I had to give him a, retainer fee and stuff. And I was making payments, and stuff. And I was working 2 jobs at the time. I was working on the weekends and everything else because I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
My parents, of course, always said, hey, come back to New York. I'll tell you a cool story that I'm going to write a book about it one day, about 17 hours. But what really happened is, when I had Kylie, and at that point in time, I had joint custody. Okay. And of course, I needed a nanny. I needed somebody to kind of watch her. Yeah. Okay. So I could go to work. Right. Because I didn't have anybody who could watch her and stuff. So I was literally, back then, I still actually do. I have a big container and I put all my loose change in and stuff. Okay. Save the change, save your coins and everything.
Old habits die hard.
Old habits die hard. And I was rolling pennies and stuff because I was like, I have to bring my daughter to New York so my parents can watch her, so I could come back, find a job, find a nanny so that I can operate and take care of my kid. And I was sitting there in the living room, and I remember I was rolling the coins. I was rolling my quarters. I was rolling pennies. And I remember Kylie came in with her little pocketbook and said, here, Daddy, have my money. And she had like dollar bills. She had a $5. She had a couple dollar bills and stuff in there. And I'm like, Nana gave it to her. You know what I'm saying? For her birthday or whatever. Nana would give her money, stuff in her little purse. And she had that and stuff. Well, I had to pack her up, and we drove 17 hours. Drove all the way home to New York. pulled in my parents' driveway, and I said, Mom, Dad, I need to go back to Georgia, and I need to get a job, okay, that will allow me to have my child, and I need to, find a nanny that'll take care of my kid. Because at the time, there was girls that wanted to, he's so cute, you're cute, she's cute,
sure.
But they wanted a hookup, you know what I'm saying? They wanted to be my girlfriend.
Okay.
I wanted a nanny. I wanted to just go to work. I just wanted to focus on my kid. That was the main thing that I had in my mind. So leaving her that day and driving, and her big tears crying as I'm pulling out of the driveway.
Oh, man.
And I'm driving. So, and my mom and dad were like, just leave her here. Leave her here for a month or two. Let us take care of her. Go figure it out. Of course they want me to move home. I'm like, I'm not moving home because that means I failed. I'm not going to fail. That's just not, as long as I'm trying, I'm not going to fail.
Right.
I can fail daily. Yeah. But if I keep trying, I'm still going. It's still okay. It's a new day. It's a new game. It's a new, right.
You're
exactly.
in the game.
A new thing. And, driving 17 hours, man. I drove 17 hours back, and I can't tell you, me and God talked the whole way.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Because there's times where, we're driving around those bends and you see those cliffs and you're like, it might be a good little drive right over this cliff here and just call it quits, type of thing, goes through your head every now and then. Yeah. And it's like, no, I can't do that. And got back to Georgia within 29 hours.
Unreal.
I had a job. I had a nanny. And I got back in my car and I drove, another 17 hours. Now, I didn't tell my parents I was coming, So I dropped her off on a Sunday. Yeah. Okay, it was a Sunday. That Tuesday morning, I show up in the driveway, on Tuesday, I'm back there. And I said, I'm here to get Kylie. And they're like, no. I said, listen, I already got a job. I'm going to start working in mortgages. I'm working nights doing that, which is after hours. I got a nanny during the day. And I said, I got to figure it out. And I want to just leave her with it. No, she's mine. And you know what? Got in the car and drove all the way back. And I never looked back from that day since.
Unbelievable.
But, that's why my father always said, you need to write a book and put this together. And 17 hour, because that was a monumental moment for me as a human and as a person. And as my parents always said, hey, you've always been an overachiever. You've always worked hard. You've always had the biggest heart. But what you just did, I could have easily moved back to New York. I could have easily moved in with my parents. I could have easily let them take care of my kid.
You could have mailed it in and let her mother take care. You could have not shown up.
True that.
Yeah.
True that. But I knew it was my responsibility.
Yeah.
And I was like, God put me in this position for a reason.
Yeah.
Because this is going to build my character.
Wow.
And honestly, I'm thankful for all those experiences today. During the time, I didn't understand it, Red. Crying asleep, why me? Sitting in the jail cell, why am I keep going through? But I look back now and I say, thank God I went through those things, because that made me who I am today. Sure. As a person and stuff.
Yeah. But You were on a mission, brother. I can't imagine the self-talk that the enemy had in your mind during those times, because it had to be overwhelming, and for you to be able to have God on your side and to be able to turn to God in those moments when you were down, you were on rock bottom, I'm sure, and God to be able to come into your life and guide you and give you that direction and give you that support, and whatever the confidence and the energy that he gave you that transformed you into being a defeated victim of this circumstance that you had gotten yourself into in life, to becoming a victor and giving this young child, this innocent child, a life with a father who loved her and adored her and cared for her and was going to give her the best life that he could possibly give her, is a story of overcoming in what seemed like insurmountable odds, and to be able to give yourself that self-talk, because everybody's been there before. When we screw up, we're in bad situations, we're in tough times, and we say, man, I'm awful, I suck, I'm terrible, why me, why is this going through me, I'm never going to get out of this, what am I going to do here, what am I going to reversing that and to say, I am worthy. I am valuable. I can overcome this. Dr. James, this reminds me of a story real quick. The guy's name, he's an ophthalmologist down in Florida, and he's the only man to ever complete a double Ironman. And a double Ironman is you go and you do an Ironman one day, and then you go to bed and you get up the next day and you do another one. And he was 61 years old when he did it. And they after the second one, they reporters, they come up to him and they put the microphone in his face and they say, doctor, what was it? What was it that enabled you to do something that no other human on the planet has ever done, to complete a double Ironman? And he said, I learned how to quit listening to what my mind was telling me and to turn it into what I'm telling my mind. Okay, I am worthy. I am capable. I am enough. I am that. Yes, those affirmations. And so one of the things that you lived this out, just like Dr. Pitts, is that you had to have been giving yourself affirmations from God, divine affirmations, to push you over this hump that you were going through.
100%. I mean, the reality is, you asked, what was my why? That was my why.
Yeah.
Kylie, was my why. She was the reason, because again, I don't like to lose, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In anything. I've always struggled with that. I think a lot of the insecurity growing up, I was fat Philly, 4 foot tall, 5 foot wide, when a kid, type of thing.
I can relate.
The last one being picked when you're in elementary school, type of thing, It messes with your psychology.
Absolutely.
A little bit. You get many nights of depression, with that. I'll never forget, I had a good buddy of mine in school. I was in, wasn't quite junior high yet. I was probably 5th grade. And he got mad at me, swung at me, and he hit me. And I laughed at him, and then I walked away and I went down to the nurses and I got all sad because I was like, I thought that was my friend.
Right.
And he hit me.
Right.
And I would call my mom and my mom would come get me. And, back then, again, we financially, we didn't have abundance of finances, but they always found a way to do something to make me feel good. So mom would come pick me up and we'd take a ride along the thruway, which back then, the interstate highways, we had thruways, and then I had the thruway stops. So, you get off the thruway stop. You get a little something to eat.
Yeah.
It made you feel like you were going on a trip, right?
Yeah.
So she made me feel like I was going somewhere.
Field trip.
Yeah, field trip. And we'd have a little conversation and I'd always be good the next day. But, I think a lot of that boiled into, through growth and how, as I grew up and stuff, is, okay, now I got a child. I can't lose. You want to give your kid what you had and more.
Right.
And you feel like you can't. So already I got all the odds against me. Mm-hmm. Then I start wondering, what kind of person is she going to turn out to be? Is she going to rely on other people for money? Mm-hmm. Could she get into drugs? Could she turn out to having to work as a professional woman doing things that I wouldn't want my daughter doing for money?
Yeah.
Type of thing. And that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, every day when I wanted to pack it in, when I was working in sales and I was doing things, and I was like, you know what? It's 5 o'clock. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna work another hour. Because I kept thinking about her and her future, and I wanted to make sure that she didn't have to rely on a man to take care of her.
Yeah.
Or rely on her body or something else to give her a source of income to help her grow throughout life as well.
Right.
And that's what was my why. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. You were just driven to. There's something innately inside of you that drove you through no matter what. There was nothing that was going to happen, Phil, that was going to keep you from providing a better life for Kylie. I can hear it. There's no doubt in my mind. And there was all the doubts that crept into your mind and the betrayal and the having to go to jail and sit in a jail, and how you can imagine what you felt about yourself as a guy that just wanted to provide for his daughter. And now you're stuck in some stinking old jail cell like the worst human being on earth, to be able to get up, get out of there and go and chase that and to create that life for her. Guys, I want to tell you something. You have that in you, okay? Everybody has that in them. God didn't put that dream in your heart to not see it come to fruition, did he? I mean, it was in there. You didn't do it.
No.
You didn't do it.
No.
You weren't. So it was something about when that girl was born and she came into this earth and you laid your eyes on her, there was a dream that was put into your heart and a drive that was put into you by the Almighty that said, hey, go and provide for her. Go do for her as her father, as your heavenly Father's done for you. But if you would have quit, if you would have folded up, never would have happened, would it?
No.
Okay? You could have, and a lot of people did. A lot of people would have. Okay? And that's the message that I believe in for everybody out there, is if you have a dream in your heart, and we all do somewhere, for better, okay? Whatever you're passionate about, unless we chase it, unless we have the courage to chase it, to continue to fail and get up and go again, just like Phil did, okay? you're not going to reach that goal. And the people that could have benefited and been blessed from that goal, your daughter, my children, your children, they're the ones that aren't going to be fulfilled because of the actions that we were too damn scared to take.
You know, so many single parents out there today,
Yeah.
don't understand or don't really think they can do it.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, that's yours. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a thing. It's a human. It's a person.
Right.
And they're a product of their environment. And if you're that environment, then don't you want to provide them the best environment you possibly can?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really all it is. It's like, you know, how can I provide the best environment place for my child?
Outside of you, okay? Because everybody we know, how many people you know that are fighting demons, right? And battles, and everybody is.
Right. Here's what I hate. You mentioned people fighting demons stuff. This is what really irritates me. People that use their children as an excuse.
Oh, come on.
They use a kid as an excuse.
Preach.
I can't go to work because my kid's sick. I can't do this because I'm a single dad.
Right.
Like, don't give me... I've been there, man.
It don't fly.
My daughter's gone to work with me.
Yeah.
I remember knocking on doors with her in my hand. Said, sorry, I'm a single dad. I got my daughter with me today working.
Yep.
She got a couple sales. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? You know, she helped me out.
That's
you know,
right.
That type
That's
of
right.
thing. But it was like, you can't allow, because guess what? If you allow her that to stop you now, how's that gonna feed her? How's that going to, like, that's a double-edged sword.
Well, what's not going to stop you?
You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Does everything just have to be perfect in order for you to be successful?
Oh, of course not. In fact, it's got to be the opposite. It's got to not be perfect.
Right.
Because you don't know what success is. You know, success is another weird thing, too, because people measure success differently. We talk about the internet. You talk about these kids scrolling. You talk about all these people with the phones and stuff. But the real, they think, you know, you got 1 million views, you're successful.
Right.
Well, my daughter's got a video with her cat that's got over 1 million views. So does that mean her and her cat's successful?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
what is it? But they look at silly things sometimes. And I think that's kind of why I got involved in the whole podcast and stuff and showcasing you know, ordinary people, because you can learn from the neighbor.
Yeah.
He's gone through some cool stuff, or she's gone through some cool stuff that you would never hear about, because you know what? They're not super famous. They're not a professional athlete. They're not somebody, you know, that everybody looks at, which people don't realize. And here's a statistic for you, Red. You ready for this one? I don't even know if you know this, but this is going to knock your socks off.
Drop it.
35% of all NFL athletes or professional athletes are bankrupt within the first 2 years after they're done playing.
Oh, yeah.
Within 5 years, 75 to 80%.
I can believe it. I can believe it.
How? I mean, 75 to 80% bankrupt after 5 years of being out of being a professional.
So
And
is that
these
success?
Is that success?
Is that success?
That's what I'm saying. And that's the part that's got to change. Now, they're not all like that. Believe me, there's some great athletes that got great business minds, have done things. But you have to surround yourself with some people, too,
Sure.
that maybe you're not able to do. For example, you know, I like to surround myself with people that can do the things I can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
To me, that's what's important. It's not what you have. It's what you do with what you have.
Yep.
You know, type of thing.
Amen.
People want to say, oh, you got big houses, you got lots of cars, you got lots of money in the bank, so you're successful. I don't consider myself successful. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not what you have, it's what you do with what you have. And I'm not done doing yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not done.
I can tell.
I got more to give. I got more to give.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that's really where, you know, really people don't understand, that are scrolling looking for the silly things, or looking for the clicks, or looking for that professional athlete, or that, you know, that musician and stuff that's great. Listen, if they're a great singer, God bless them. That's awesome. Yes, when I want to listen to music, I'd rather listen to them than me.
Yeah.
Okay, my voice sucks. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to turn them on than myself.
Everybody else would too, right?
You know, but I've learned this in business, and actually in my industry too. You know, a lot of people, for example, a person that owns a restaurant, you know, a lot of people, I want to own a restaurant. They're a great cook. They're great culinary. They understand food. They're not the greatest business person.
Business is different, brother.
They're not the greatest business.
It's different.
The guy that owns an auto mechanic, he's a mechanic. He owns an automotive store. He's a great mechanic. He can fix his shit out of cars.
Yeah.
Not always the greatest business person, Red. Not always doing the right things with the money.
Yep.
Okay? And is there a right thing and a wrong thing? Yeah, and you'll find out which it is. You know, you have to find out by trying. If you're trying something and you fail with it, it's okay, as long as you learn from it.
You know, that's so great. And what it reminds me of, I feel like this, nobody ever teaches these young kids how money works. They don't learn it in school, public school. They don't learn it in college. These professional football players, they spend all their time trying to get as good as they can being football players and baseball players and golfers and doctors and dentists and lawyers, but they don't know money and they don't understand how to make a profit and how the bottom line works.
They see drop ship. They see this. Oh, I can be a YouTuber. I can make all this money. This is what's in their mind. Instead of understanding that no matter what you make, there are rules. If you set yourself rules now, like anything else in life, there are rules. I mean, yeah, you could speed along the highway at 55 miles an hour. You can go 60, 65, but if you get caught, you're going to have a penalty.
Right.
There's rules. You know what I'm saying? Stuff. You got to live your life and your business life the same way. I preach this all the time. I told my kids from day one. Nana gives you money your birthday. Anybody, provides anything for you. 10% of your money, boom, is going into short-term investments.
Yep.
Okay. We're gonna risk. We're gonna do some risky stuff with that. 10% of your money is gonna go long-term investments. 10% of your money is gonna go to what I call your funds of your savings account.
Yep.
And then an emergency fund. And then 10% is what I always call fuck you fund. Now you sit there and say, well, you got 60% left. Well, what is that 60%? Who's your partner anytime you open up a business? Who's your partner when you earn money, Red? Do you know?
Go for it.
The IRS.
Oh, yeah.
They're your partner, no matter what.
Yep.
People don't realize this.
Yep.
They're going to get 30% of your money.
No question.
So you know what? Take 30% of your money and put it in a money market somewhere they can draw some interest off of it before you give it to them. Let's make some money off of it.
4 or 5% interest in the money market today.
Let's make some money off of it before you can give it to them.
Right.
Now, what does that mean that's left over for you? 30%. Well, people are like, well, man, how am I supposed to live off of 30%? Well, if your IRS is your partner, they're taking 30%, then you got to learn to live off of 30% too. And if you can live your life like that at 16 and 17 and 18 and 20, by the time they're 30, they are millionaires.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They just watch the wealth grow. It's too bad because now what they're doing, I want to get the I want to get that fast car. I want to get the Camaro. I want to get the red line vehicle and stuff. I want good jewelry and certain things. They want the look.
Yeah.
I can't believe these kids today, the amount of kids that are buying fake sneakers and shit stuff, because they want to look. These are $1,500 sneakers. Well, wait a second. Why on earth do you want to, number one, spend $1,500 on sneakers?
Right. Yeah.
When you don't even have a job.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, you're going to get a shoe that looks like a $1,500 sneaker. For what reason? What are you trying to you're trying to be somebody you're not? Or what is the purpose of that? And unfortunately, some of the reasons are they just want to fit in.
Likes.
Yeah.
Likes.
They want to fit in. They want low self-esteem.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Nobody's dealing with that at home, Red.
Nobody's dealing with it.
Parents aren't talking to their kids about those things.
The absolute desire for these young people to be verified, for them to be liked, for them to be, for somebody to tell them that what they have personified, it's not really who they are, right? It's not really, what you and I do on these shows sometimes is not really who we are, but what everybody wants to put on their Instagram, their TikTok, their Facebook stories, their Snapchat stories is who they want to be, okay? And they want people to be it's the highlight reel.
Yeah.
What we're doing here on the Red Hot Read and on the Wam Bam podcast, we're getting in the low light reel, which is the real life stuff. It's the real life stuff. Because what I found, you said it earlier, and it just hit me right here, is you hate to lose. Okay, and every decision that we make in life is a factor of one or two things. We're either chasing joy or we're running away from fear. Right? Yeah. And I hate to lose more than I do win. If you talk to any of the World Series champions, you talk to Super Bowl champions, you talk to champions in life, and you ask them what is the greater emotion that they deal with, is it the one where they won and got the trophy, or was it the one where they lost it and failed? And I'm telling you, 90% of them are going to tell you that the one that sticks in their mind is the loss and that failure.
Absolutely.
Okay?
So close.
And so many times, I
should have did this. I could have done that. If I only just,
Yeah. And I think, and you'll relate to this, I think as successful people and winners, I think what you'll find is 85% of our time, we feel frustrated. We feel like we're behind. We're not doing enough. We're not grinding enough. We're not making enough deals. And then maybe 10% of the time, we're confused about where we are. Maybe, it's not where are we? Should I be doing this? And then maybe there's 5% of the time where we hit a dub, where we hit those wins. And we're like, yeah, let's go. I feel good about that. And then, bam, it repeats itself. And so 85% of the time, if you're chasing success, if you're chasing winning, and you're chasing greatness in your life, you're probably frustrated and feeling like you're behind and not performing up to your level, your standard. Is that?
It's totally, but you think about it as well. Kids today, they're looking, they see what's possible. They think, hey, okay, I can do this, but yet they don't want to do it.
They got it right there in front of them.
No, but think about this.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people will buy a get rich quick scheme, okay? They don't follow through with it. You could buy a book. They'll buy a book, but they won't read it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if they read it, okay, they don't apply it to what they didn't take anything from it and apply action to it. And that's the key. You have to put action with it. So many people, I want this, I want this, I want this. That's fucking awesome. You got to have a want.
Yep.
But you got to be able to work too.
Yep.
Are you willing to work for it? And that's the problem. They just want somebody to show up. Nobody's knocked at my door and said, hey, Red, here, you just won the Publishing Clearinghouse.
Yeah.
Here's a check for $1 million. It doesn't happen like that.
It's a myth.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, unless you're playing a lottery and you get lucky and you won a lottery ticket or you're a trust fund baby, nobody's going to show up at your house and give you that. It's not happening.
No.
So you know what? You have to go work for it. And part of working for it is having a plan and understanding, manifesting, this is what needs to be done. And learning from those that have already failed.
Yep.
These kids today have it so much easier because they do have the resources.
Yes.
They know what works and what doesn't. I just said there, gave them a great time. I just gave you a great way. Live off of 30% of your earnings. Take the other 40% and put it away. Live off of that right now. Right now, if your grandma gives you $20, live off of 30%. Take $6 to go buy what you want. Okay, and the rest do what I told you to. If they do that stuff, they'll become successful, man.
That's a millionaire mindset.
Way more than us. More than us.
That's a millionaire mindset right there. Those are simple, actionable items that anyone listening to this podcast today can start on today and put themselves in the top 1% within 10, 15, 20 years of rich people in the world.
It starts right when your baby's born. The baptism. You have a little baptism party, people give you money, right?
Yep.
What are you doing with the baby's money?
Yeah.
Are you starting the plan for your kid so they can learn that stuff? When their first 1-year-old birthday party and grandma gives them an envelope with $50 in it or whatever happened, are you doing that? Now these kids, my son does because he gets mad at me because I put him on this program, but he got mad at me because like my sister, they would give him an Amazon card, a gift card.
Sure.
They give him a $50 gift card.
Sure.
And I said, well, guess what? You don't get to spend the $50. I'm buying the gift card from you. Here's $50, and now we're doing our little what we're supposed to do.
Stay on plan, buddy.
Stay on the point, right? Exactly.
Yep.
And he would get mad. Well, why can't I spend it the way I want? You can if you want the results of that too as you get older. Remember, you said you wanted more. If you want that, I'm giving you the path because I've already made all the mistakes. Yep. You know what I'm saying? I made the mistakes. It wasn't easy. I failed more than anybody. I failed more than most. You know what I'm saying?
Preach.
But guess what? I know how to win.
Yeah.
And winning, part of winning is not giving up.
Yeah.
Not giving up.
What you just said is simply put, guys, if you want to be successful, you want to win in life, just learn, just get it in your heart, in your mind, in your soul to be able to sacrifice what you want now, your short-term gain, what you want to put in your mouth, what you want to put on your feet, what you want to put on your shoulders, what you want to put on your head, okay, what you want to put on your wrist and all that. Sacrifice what you want now for what you want the most.
That's right.
Okay, and that's it. That is it. Now, I wanted to touch on this because we're in. I love this, man, dude. You're awesome. This is a great show.
Thanks,
hey,
man.
you're a good man, brother. I'm so grateful that we're spending this time together today.
Man, it's great to
and so, but I'm going to challenge you right now because
to the viewers, we just met.
Yeah. So, but I am going to challenge you right now because we're on this topic of finances and the economy and it is so impactful to everybody's life because I think most of the people that we know out there are struggling financially right now. We're in a situation where credit card debt's at an all-time high. Credit card interest rates are at an all-time. I think the average interest rates on credit card today is like 23%, maybe, give or take a point or two there. And now we're seeing credit card delinquencies are approaching all-time highs. At the 30-day is at an all-time high, 60 days almost, and 90 days right there as well. And from someone who is successful and, kind of lives in this world, what do you tell everybody about debt and credit cards?
The reality is this, man. The economy has changed. The price of gold's gone down. The value of our dollar's gone down. Value is the key, right? Where is the value and stuff? Debt is only what you incurred. And the reason why people are incurring debt is because we're allowing it, because we're not teaching the younger generation about money. They're not respecting the dollar, okay? You can give somebody $1, okay? And I'll give you a great example. I drive around through Atlanta, all the place, all the time, right? I'm in sales, so I'm out a mobile lot, and a lot of times, there's beggars, there's people on the corners, and they're asking for money and stuff, and I always give money, always, no matter what. And my son yelled at me like 3 weeks ago. He's like, Dad, why would you give this guy? Look at his sneakers. He's got Nikes, man. Those are Air Jordans, and I'm like, he's working, he's on the corner working for that. He's worthy of it. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Tell me somebody else, it's the people that are sitting home collecting the welfare checks or collecting the money and not doing a damn thing about trying to get out of the hole where they're at. Yeah. So there's a big difference. That comes from what you learned. These kids today aren't taught. So many kids are in debt. Good example. Any kid that lives in a neighborhood, you guys live in the neighborhood, you got a neighborhood? Yeah. How many houses would you say in that neighborhood is? 40 houses. 40 houses. Let's just think about this. What day does trash go out? What day does garbage go out? Wednesday. If some kid came, knocked at your door, say, Red, hey, Mr. Red, I'm 7 years old and I live right up the road here and I would like to come here every Wednesday and carry your trash up to the road for $2. Done. Would you give me $2 to do it? $2 times 40, I just made $80 in a day for rolling up your trash can up to the top. 2 hours worth of work. You have to find a way to sell. This world is all about selling and buying. The problem is we're buying more than we're selling. That's the issue, and that's why the value of the dollar goes down. Absolutely. That's my personal opinion, man. No doubt. And so what you heard is he's a seller, okay? Folks who are successful in life, they're sellers. They're not generally buyers. You're selling. You're selling. You know what? There's buyers and sellers everywhere. People say it all the time. A sale takes place in every conversation, right? You buy them or they buy you. Right now, you sold me. I'm a fan of yours. You know what I'm saying? So, awesome. Type of thing, But it's also about building relationships and trust. How do you build a relationship and trust if you don't have a conversation with somebody? Right. I can't build a relationship and trust somebody on my phone watching their life. There are certain things about their life that I may like, but I really didn't get to know them. I tell people all the time, so many kids, especially because I mentor a lot of kids and coach a lot of kids, that you're sitting there and you're spending hours watching somebody you've never met before. You don't even know who they are. Your father's in the other room. Go talk to him for an hour. Your great aunt is across the way. Go talk to your neighbor. You lived next to him for 20 years. You grew up with him. Okay? But you know what? That doesn't register because as parents, we don't tell them that. We, like you said earlier, we give them the iPad. We give them to the corner. Get away from us. The occupiers, the babysitters. Let me keep them occupied to get them to the point where they're 18 and can get out of the house. Right? And it's unfortunate. Not everybody's like that. But I'm just saying, the reality is, that's what's got to happen to the economy. The family's these kids got to start learning at an early age. Because guess what? I'm in a world right now. Robots are taking over. Robots are around. They're real. We sell them. You know what I'm saying? I got businesses right now. Restaurants and stuff say they have a hard time getting waitresses. They got a hard time of getting people taking orders. Kids don't want to show up to work and stuff. So guess what? You got a kiosk. You go up there to kiosk. You order on the kiosk. Boom. The ticket goes to the kitchen. You got one person cooking in the kitchen. It's done. They put it on the robot. The robot delivers the food to the table. Wow. We do that stuff now. You know what I'm saying? And stuff. So, unfortunately, you're going to see more and more of this. I hope it doesn't happen. Sure. Because people need the interaction. You know what I'm saying? People need those things. And if you're a young kid out there and wondering what you can do, don't be drop shipping. Go learn how to be a plumber. Go learn how to be an electrician. Find a trade. Because guess what? Robots can't do that stuff. HVAC. Go do welding. Okay. Those guys do videography. Do something that robots can't do. Okay. And I'm telling you, those vocations are going to make a dramatic comeback in our society over these next
5, 10, 15 years for people that are willing to go out there and get their hands a little bit dirty. Yeah. Change directions a little bit, because there's some other stuff that's been just remarkable in your life that I wanted to talk about. It's obvious to me, Phil, that family is extremely important to you, man. And you know, as it is me, you know, the most impactful relationships in your life are going to be from your family. And so, you know, recently, you know, you've had a couple of difficult things happen to you. You know, your father, you've spoke extremely fondly of him today, and man, what an influence he was. And, you know, he's your best friend and you're, you know, the best man in your wedding, and you lost him recently. And,
you know what, Red, it's so weird because growing up, talking about my dad, you know, growing up, I hated my dad, you know, because he always told me no.
Yeah.
He was the guy that always told me no. And it pissed me off because every time I asked him, it was no. And I didn't understand that. Mom always said yes. You know what I mean? So I would go to mom. You know, my dad always said no. And he also always pushed me. I felt like he didn't believe in me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't do this, Phil. You can't go to college. You can't play football in college. In wrestling, you're wrestling the state champ. You can't beat him. I've been doing I can'ts my whole life. And part of that was because of him. Because he knew how to get the best out of me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that then. Yeah. You know, but by him saying I can't, it was, I'm going to prove him wrong.
Sure.
You know, I'll never forget. I pinned that guy, you know, that state champ, and I looked up to the bleachers and I pointed at him and stuff. And it's weird, a true story. Every wrestling match, my father would always have a piece of paper, and he would have each person who they're wrestling, and he would kind of circle and figure out whether they would get a pin, whether they would lose, a decision.
Yeah.
Because you got by points, right?
Yeah.
So you're figuring out the point stuff. And he always did it, and he always put it in his pocket. After that match, when I got done pinning that kid, I got up and I went right off the mat, right up to the stands. And I said, let me see your paper. I go, you could throw that paper right in your ass right now. Like, I was pissed.
Yeah.
And he pulled out the paper with a big grin on his face, and he had me circled.
Let's go.
He knew I was going to. He knew.
Let's go.
He knew how to get to me.
He knew how to push your buttons and motivate you.
Then, I was like, wow, he taught me all these lessons I didn't realize growing up, but now I'm a little bit young man, and I'm starting to figure this out.
Right.
The flip side of that one is when I had my daughter, you know, I try to utilize that same technique, you know, with her. You can't do this. And she shut down. Yeah. Oh, Daddy, you don't believe in me. But I'm like, no, you're supposed to prove me wrong. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't work like that for everybody. So everybody's different.
They're all different.
Everybody's different. And you got to know personalities, and you got to understand those types of things.
Yeah.
But, you know, my dad was always there. It wasn't until I had a child of my own that I realized what his no's were. His no's were to protect me. Yeah. And stuff, and the sacrifice and everything. And, you know, losing my dad was, I'm still grieving. Sure. I'm not going to lie. It's actually, it's been a hard 5-7 years right now, you know what I'm saying, going through it because, you know, I lost my dad, you know, one of my best friends at the time who was there for me also, Ronnie Reyes, he was 42 years old at the time, said, you know, I told your dad I'm going to take care of you. I got your back. I got you. A month later, he passes away at a heart attack out of the blue. And it's like, bam, bam, you know, and I just went into a shell. Yeah. And I didn't know how to express myself. I didn't know what to do. I felt like life was different, right? And I didn't understand it because I'd pick up the phone to call my dad and he wasn't going to answer. And I'd pick up the phone to call my buddy and he wasn't going to answer either. And I didn't have anywhere to go with it. You know what I mean? And of course you go to counseling and all that, but people that don't know you, what do you have to do? You have to first start, tell them the whole journey and everything about you. And, you know, people have that, you know, that stigma that, oh, I'm going to a shrink or I'm going to, do I have problems? Yeah. But the truth of the matter is I've learned over the course of it all that everybody should go to a mind doctor. Yeah. Everybody should go to somebody for counseling.
It's a coach.
Because it's a coach, right? And it's helping you to decipher some things that give you different perspectives that you might not have known.
Sure.
You know, so I think today's day it's a little bit more okay to go ahead and do those types of things. But it was a hard journey. And then I actually had a partial knee replacement done. And unfortunately, 2 weeks afterwards, I tore the quad off my bone.
Dude.
I wasn't able to walk.
What the world?
Pulled a pulmonary embolism, almost died in the hospital. So you go through these process and stuff. And, you know, you're just constantly fighting. I've been fighting
right.
my whole life. But I look back at it from when I was Fat Philly and saying, I was fighting all the time to be this guy that I still am not yet.
Yeah.
That I still know I have more to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I guess that's what
you.
keeps me fighting.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
You know, type of attitude. But to say the least, it's been real rough. And you know, even last year, I was in Italy actually at this time. It was May, April during Easter time, and I almost died in Italy.
What?
You know? Yeah. That's crazy.
The motherland.
The motherland. You know, and everybody said all these people that died during COVID in Italy. I kind of know why. The health service over there.
Rough.
In Sorrento, it was. I was in Sorrento when this all went down. In fact, if you go to my podcast, you listen to the very first episode, you'll hear exactly what happened, because I got tired of telling the story over and over again. And of course, it wasn't just me, because I was out of it. I couldn't see. I couldn't move. Yeah. They wanted to cut my brain open.
What?
They wanted to do brain surgery because I had vertigo real bad to the point where I couldn't walk. I couldn't move. I was vomiting projectile.
Jeez, bro.
They called in an ambulance. They put me in the ambulance in Sorrento. It was a movie. Yeah, I can't make this shit up. Okay?
I'm not laughing at you.
No, they put me in a freaking ambulance and they took off, and my bed went out the door. The door's open.
Stop it.
I swear to God, I almost ended up in the middle of the road. Thank God the one door caught my bed, and they stopped the ambulance, and they came back around, and then they tied me in.
Kept you from flying out the back of the ambulance.
Right.
Dude.
And in the process, the guy's putting a needle in my arm, okay, trying to get an IV in, and that's, lo and behold, the long short of it is.
It's not a comedy.
No. I ended up getting sepsis in my arm.
Oh, my God.
I had an IV port in this arm for 18 weeks once I got back to the United States after spending 2 weeks in the hospital there. Because I had sepsis, I had 25% of dying from some sepsis from the dirty needle and stuff. They brought me in that hospital, Red.
Brother.
I sat in there was no waiting room. I was in a hallway. I sat in a hallway, according to my son-in-law, for over an hour or two. Okay, he would come in and see me. They're smoking cigarettes.
No.
Sticking an IV. Listen, they gave me, when they put an IV bag on me, they didn't give me fluids that they should have. They were giving me a diuretic that was taking fluids out of me. So it was working. Everything was working against me. And I'm sitting here and I can't see. I got a towel over my head. I can't move. I'm locked in the gurney. Nobody's speaking English. Unfortunately, the Italian I know that I grew up, my parents taught me, were all bad words. Sorry. That was all I knew, and stuff. But, I'm sitting there going, help me.
Yeah.
And nobody's responding. And I got David Goggins in my head going, you don't know me. I got to fucking live. Like, this is where I'm going to die. I just had the trip of my life with my family. I had my kids with me, my mom. It was awesome up until that point. And I'm going to die in fucking Italy. This is what's going to be the end of my story. And I'm like, I can't go out like this. This is not where I want to die and stuff. But there was a moment. So I'm biting my tongue, trying to create saliva just so I could have spit so I could stay alive. Unreal. My son-in-law would break in. He would break in, he'd yell in there, and then they would kick him out. Security would come, and they would kick him out and make him leave. By the third time he broke in, I said, they want to cut me open. You got to get me out of here. He's like, can you get in a wheelchair? I said, just throw me in a wheelchair. Do whatever you got to do, but I'm not dying here. You know what I mean?
So he busted you out of the hospital?
Yes, he got me. Yes, him and my guide at the time was my translator that we had for the trip.
Yeah.
They got a van. And they laid me down in a van, okay? Drove 3.5 hours to Rome, okay? Put me in a hotel there because I wasn't going to go to a hospital at that point in time. No hospital was an option.
Right.
Brought a doctor to me, where then they started putting real fluids in me, and I started getting some better treatment and better care, and that took 4 or 5 days. I was actually at a point then where I could walk with a cane, to move, where I could get on. Luckily, I was flying Delta One, get on a plane, laid me down for 14.5 hours to get back here to the States, where then was admitted right to the hospital for several weeks after that.
Brother, this is dramatic. It's unbelievable.
It was. And let me tell you what, though, going through that experience and understanding that, I'm still here, bro.
Yeah.
I'm still here. And yes, I changed some of the things I value. Obviously, you value your health a little bit. You see me drinking the hydrogen water, and I'm on a superhuman protocol. I've been working with Gary Brecka. I don't know if you haven't heard of Gary. Working with Dana White and all that. Dynamic. I'm very blessed that he was able to see me and treat me like he's working with me and stuff.
So you actually met Brecka and you're working with him?
Yeah, I've been to his house.
Yeah,
and they're working directly with him. Yes, on his superhuman protocol. He did the blood panel, the gene testing. I'm on this program. I'm down literally about 39 pounds from where it was. Yeah, I feel amazing. Nice. Way better than I was.
You look good.
But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm trying to biohack. I'm doing all this
you're alive, man. You're alive.
And that's the key. I'm alive.
Hey, listen. I can testify to you and to everybody who's here today that God's not done with you, brother. He is not done. The Phil Beniamino story is not over. There's so much more to be told. There's so much more for you to do. And the legacy and the impact that you're going to leave is going to be one that other people are going to end up writing books about you. I was going to tell you that a buddy of mine is a great guy, Brian Blackman. He's a college football coach down at UCF and just a superhuman being. He told me recently that legacy is not about what you and I, it's not what we do and accomplish while we're here. It's about what other people are able to accomplish because they lived around us, because we were in their life. And I'm here to tell you that you're going to leave a legacy that is extremely impactful, man. This guy's overcome so much to be here today, to be living a life that is impactful, that's truly fulfilling, that's a life of success, financial success. And I'm really, really looking forward to watching all that you do and all that becomes of Phil Beniamino. And I want everybody to tune in to the Wam Bam Podcast because, man, I'm telling you, he's just getting started and he's got so much more to give. We all have so much more to learn from you, brother. Hey, thanks so much for being with us today.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Pleasure, and looking forward to
We got to do it again.
Friendship. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Thanks
absolutely.
Again.
Thank you, Phil.
You got it.
That's Red Taylor with the Red Hot Read.
This has been the Red Hot Read Show with Red Taylor. This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.